Folks, brace yourselves because this is rough to see.
I don't give two shits that families are being separated if somebody's getting deported. I actually find it hilarious. It gives me a great deal of comfort. I have no sympathy that your child might grow up without a father because he got sent back to Mexico or whatever. I mean, y'all are welcome to go with him. Don't forget that's an option. That's a choice that you're making, right? I don't have any sympathy for your little videos that you're making on social media with all the tears. I don't give a shit. I'm actually fucking laughing at you that you're sitting there crying for attention. Okay? I find you guys to be subhumans. All right. Now, while you're sitting there judging me because I don't care that families are going to be separated from each other, I'd invite you to recall that hundreds of J6ers were separated from their families for something that equates to a little more than a trespassing charge. Where were you then? Okay, bye.
Yeah, I know. They keep just bottoming out, don't they? They keep going lower and lower. Well, folks, if you needed an example of what it looks like to fail at life, here she is. If you needed an example of what it looks like to lose the plot, this is her. And it's remarkable that people like this are so thrilled about their hatefulness. They're so psyched to share how empty they are inside. Yeah, this woman is nasty. And you know, when people think that they're better than other people, it may look on the outside like that benefits them. But the reality is that that is the emptiest place in the world to exist. When you have this notion that you are so outsized, above other people in the world, and that's an indicator that your relationships have been disastrous from the beginning, you know, from your attachment on up through all of your friendships, on up through any romantic relationships. And Lord, I sure as hell hope she doesn't have children. But if she does, you can assume that those relationships are fraught too. And it's one thing if you've been raised in a traumatic situation with a parent who was cruel to you. A lot of people have had that experience. But by now, when you've been out in the world long enough to come face to face with right and wrong, to come face to face with enough examples of what it looks like to be a kind person, to be a good person, and to have a right-sized relationship with other people, then shame on you. There is no excuse. There is absolutely no excuse. But I do want to remind you, when people broadcast this kind of disgusting, awful depravity, that is her broadcasting the pain that she feels inside. That is her broadcasting the level, the scope, and the size of her depraved feelings. And that's what she lives with every single day. And I think that at a certain point, when people are so public, they're so like, pick me princess, I'm the worst one, I'm awful, let me be like Candace Owens, I can outdo her awfulness. Well, I think that you have to assume that she's never gotten much positive attention in her life. And so she's willing to settle for negative attention. Negative attention feels good to her because it's better than no attention. So, you know, that's pretty sad and cynical, isn't it? And pretty freaking lazy. It's a lot harder to be a good person than it is to be a bad person. It's a lot harder to get positive attention than it is to get negative attention. Anybody can be an asshole. It's not easy to be a good guy. Not easy. It's not easy to bridge the gap between people that you don't understand. You actually have to work a little bit harder. You do. You can't be lazy. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse when you're a grown woman like this. There's no excuse when you're going to the internet to broadcast how much hate you have inside of your heart with the absolute ultimate intention of making people receive that hate, of making people suffer with that hate. She's trying to perpetuate it. She's trying to grow that hate. She's trying to convince you to hate like her. She's trying to say to you, listen, you get to be lazy too. You get to get negative attention too. I know it's harder to get positive attention. I'm letting you off the hook. Come and be an asshole like me. Let's just revel in our assholery. And I think we need to call it out for what it is. I think we need to call it out for the psychological situation that it is. Because ultimately, you know, telling this woman, you're a bad girl or you're an asshole, whatever, you know, she knows that. She knows she's a bad girl. She knows she's an asshole. But if you say to her, wow, you are really crying for help, aren't you? You are really letting everybody know how much pain you have inside. And you really haven't spent much time looking at your crap, huh? So you've just decided instead of taking responsibility for all those awful feelings that you obviously have inside, you're going to slather them on everybody else. Well, that's pretty lazy. That's not really nice, is it? I would suggest, honey, that you take all of that self-loathing and you go get yourself some help. Tell her what she looks like from the perspective of everybody else, seeing past her pick-me princess bullshit and looking straight in the eye of a person who is incredibly lazy, incredibly sad, incredibly self-loathing, and somebody who has absolutely lost the plot. That's my suggestion. And lady, boy, I sure as fuck hope you have the day you deserve. And you know what? I suspect you will. Yeah.